You could say the Saints are the best team to not have won at all over the last 3 years. What do they need to do to finally get over the hump and get Brees back into the Super Bowl?
You know, like I stated a little bit earlier, Scott, the Saints haven't necessarily just had one particular thing, you know, that you can point out and say, hey, if they do that, they're in it. It's always kind of something that's kind of flukish. But if you just sit and you watch this team and you say, hey, what do they need? To me, it's another impactful receiver. You know, you think about what Michael Thomas was able to do by himself, 149 catches. You know, I didn't think anyone would ever break that Marvin Harrison catch record. Yeah. And so to see that and to see Drew still find a way and Sean Payton find a way to scheme up and get him the football, just think about if you had a guy like Emmanuel Sanders. You know, what he did for the 49ers coming in midway through the season. You want a guy who can run routes. I don't think you need a speed guy who can just take the top off. You want a guy who can systematically pick you apart, who can run routes inside. And to me, Emmanuel Sanders is the perfect type of fit, a veteran leader who can come in that locker room, be another guy opposite Michael Thomas. I'm talking about Batman and Robin. These are two guys who demand double coverage, and you can't double team everybody. And I think it makes Drew Brees and Michael Thomas's job that much easier.
Yeah, D, the one thing that you don't want to give Drew Brees is more options.
More targets.
Yeah, right.
And it drives teams crazy. Are we going to double Michael Thomas? Are we going to put our best guy over here and double him? Whoever the player is that you're intending to get, whether it's Emmanuel Sanders or another tight end or a running back that allows Alvin Kamara to get out of the backfield more. You see Alvin Kamara have a tremendous success out of the backfield. When Drew Brees has options and gets to play point guard, it's scary for the rest of the NFL.
Absolutely.
Look, guys, they don't have to do much. Okay, there's probably not a team.
Right there,
Right, there was not a team I was around more last season than the Saints. I mean, first off, Drew Brees coming back. I'll never forget the game when he came back. He started clicking right away, right? When he came back from the 5 games off, for the thumb injury. But, you know, that playoff game against the Vikings, it wasn't. They didn't lose that game because of roster deficiencies. Their headspace wasn't right. They figured that whole week, hey, since our last 2 postseasons ended so flukishly, we're destined, right? We're going to beat these guys. We're going to slow down the run game, and they got dominated. So I think next year you get Marcus Davenport back at defensive end opposite of Cam Jordan, right? Marcus Davenport was on the ascension before the foot injury. They keep another guy. They can keep safety Von Bell, who's a heck of a player, but he's an unrestricted free agent. That'll be something right there. This team is not far away. If they can maintain the proper headspace, and I think what they learned in that game, that wild card loss to the Vikings, that's going to motivate them. I think this, again, as we said in the tease, is a team a lot of us are going to like going to the Super Bowl.
I tell you one thing they need to do. Avoid the Minnesota Vikings.
Yes.
Minneapolis Miracle a couple years ago. Kyle Rudolph walk-off overtime touchdown in the Superdome this last year. Get the Vikings on a different side of the bracket, something like that. Avoid them if you can at all costs there. Brees trying to get back to the Super Bowl for the first time. It would be 11 years between the Super Bowl. That would be the longest stretch in NFL history.
Wow.
For a quarterback if they can.
NFL Network.
We getting ready to get crazy up in here right now. RB's on 3. 1, 2, 3. Know exactly where we're supposed to be, boys. The legendary is right here in front of us.
I'm being too mean right now. I gotta have
I've been smiling all game, man. That's how we do. Jimmy! Way to play, man. Way to play.
All right, well, that's the last image that we saw of the San Francisco 49ers on the field, but off the field, we're now joined by Niners running back Jeffrey Wilson. Jeff, thanks so much for hanging out.
Yes, sir, man. Glad y'all had me on the show, man. I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate it. Now, the first thing you saw, the last image, you know, Patrick Mahomes and Jimmy G shaking hands. Man, how do you get over that type of loss in a game that you worked so hard to get to?
You know, it's hard, but I feel like knowing where we came from in our season previously, before this year, you know, and then knowing where we want to go next year. You know what I mean? I feel like that's what's going to help us. I mean, obviously the game didn't turn out how we wanted to, but that fuel, I feel like it's going to give us what we need this offseason for younger players and older players to give them that juice or that extra oomph they need this offseason to come back and let's make another run.
And you talk about getting that extra juice.
Yes, sir.
Do you look back at that game and say, what could we have done differently?
Yeah. I mean, if you do that, you'll be all day. You'll watch film, you'll be all day, be like, if I did it, if he did that. I mean, everything that's happened, I feel like it happened for a reason. So we just got to go in, you know, look at the tape, figure out what we got to do within ourselves.
1,000 yards passing, better than a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, 70% completion. Like, you just look at that.
In that room, it had to be an egoless room for nobody to get their feelings hurt because the playing time was so divided. How did you guys handle that?
In our room, if you check, all of us have a similar background. We back road, and all that helps us because we all know what we each other's going through. Because one person's been through it, one person's going through it, and like me, I'm just now entering into it.
Right.
So all those guys have been through the same similar situations. So we feed off each other, you know. And I feel like that alone has helped us. Draft picks, draft pick running backs, you know what I mean? That just helps the room that much more.
So for you, this time last year, not many of us were talking about Raheem Mostert.
Yeah.
So how do you become that guy who a lot of folks haven't been talking about?
To be coming to the 49ers, he took me out to breakfast, and he was telling me then it's going to be a long road. You know what I mean? You just got to keep your head down and know what you're capable of on the inside. Never let nobody deter you from that, and you'll be fine. You know, at the end of the day, it's just football, and I've been playing football in the past since I was 5 years old. So he said, let that guide you and get you to where you want to be, and don't worry about it. God gonna bless you in the end.
All right. Well, thanks so much, man. Appreciate the insight.
Sir. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Who Dat Nation is nothing if not relieved now that number 9 has decided to come